Great. My name is Mark Birch. I'm the director of Sleekstone Private Clients based over in Pembrokeshire in Wales. And I found the Accelerator course through LinkedIn.
Excellent. All right. And what kind of challenges or issues did you have in your business, Mark, prior to coming on board? Was there particular things that you were struggling with, or where were you at?
I'm new-ish back into financial services. I had a company previously that I sold back in 2014 for an injury. Came back into the industry back in July last year. Started from scratch, so no clients, no client bank, no contacts, no nothing. And needed to find a way to try and get in front of people quicker, as we all do, and connect with more people. And LinkedIn seems like the platform to be on. I look after entrepreneurs and directors, so that's the natural kind of hunting ground really, is to go onto LinkedIn. I didn't really understand how it worked.
Okay. And were you starting from a low base? You just sort of had a profile and you weren't really doing much with it? Is that where you were at when you were starting?
Yeah, pretty much. I had a profile, which I thought was quite good until I went on your course and then realised how terrible it was. And if I went to networking events, as you do, you meet people, I'll connect with you on LinkedIn, and you connect with them, and then that's it. And I found that what was happening an awful lot was you connect with a lot of people, and it was almost like when Facebook first started, where everybody had to have the most friends possible. And you see that everybody's got, some people have got 20,000 connections, but how many of those connections are they actually communicating with or dealing with on a daily basis? And that was the bit I was finding hard, was how do you get, you've got the connection now, how do you actually take it to the next stage of engaging them to actually have a conversation with you about what you want to talk to them about?
And did you attempt to do some of that yourself? Like, did you try and kind of figure it out a little bit?
No. I very sort of blindly kind of went, oh, look, I'm connected with them now. That's going to pay dividends at some point, in the vain hope that somebody will at some point remember me and decide they're going to send me some business or talk to me about a particular project or whatever it may be. So it was more of a kind of smash and grab. It was just trying to get as many contacts as I could get, which I wasn't doing particularly well. And then, as with all things in business, your focus changes, and then you suddenly think, oh, actually, I've got to go and do that instead, and you forget that you were trying to set up, I wouldn't call it a campaign, I wouldn't go that far to say it was that, but you kind of forget that you're actually on LinkedIn, and then you think, I better check LinkedIn, and then you go on there and realise that still nobody's contacted you or connected with you or anything else. So it wasn't expanding with any particular speed, which is frustrating.
Did you have other sort of channels or marketing or ways of acquiring clients that you were working and developing on as well? Basically, when I had my previous business, I had a big bunch of connections, solicitors, lawyers, accountants, and so on. So I spent an awful lot of time hitting the phone and turning up at networking events to try and reconnect with those people I knew all those years ago, which does pay dividends, that's fine, but nothing else online. Because it was, again, it's kind of a whole new world in terms of how on earth you do this stuff. So it didn't really jive with me at all to sit down in front of the computer and think, right, I'm going to spend a whole day trying to work out how to do things on LinkedIn. And I know people who do, and I know people who spend an hour a day, every day, sending stuff out on LinkedIn to connect with people and so on and so forth. And I look at it and think, well, actually, life's a bit too short for spending an hour every day sending stuff to people on LinkedIn. There must be a way of doing it, which obviously is where your course comes in, but I didn't know it existed. I would say probably 99% of the stuff that was on your course, I was sat and like, oh, wow, you could do that. Because I just didn't know, I'm not that tech savvy that I look at things and go, oh, I bet that's AI that sent me that, that message. So no, I didn't really have any other modern channels. The traditional channels of turning up at networking events and getting my face back out there and seeing the people I used to know was the way I used to try and do things. Okay. And what made you decide to get involved in the course? I mean, you obviously said that you knew there was potentially a better way and you needed a bit of assistance. Was there any particular reason why you decided to go down the route of the course?
COVID. In one word, COVID. As you and I have spoken about before, I hit a point, I think, like most people, the week leading up to being put into lockdown, I found more terrifying than actually being put into lockdown. Going into lockdown was more of a relief of kind of going, thank God we've finally done something. And I think the first 2 or 3 days of lockdown was, oh, okay, my way of connecting with people normally, again, like the rest of the world, has suddenly dried up. I didn't know that a thing called Zoom even existed, which I'm now practically an expert on. It was one of those things where I sat there and thought, right, bugger, how am I going to get in front of people again
quickly and keep the momentum that I built up from last year to now going. And I honestly can't remember how you appeared on my feed or wall or whatever you call it on LinkedIn, but you did with the Accelerator course. And I thought, well, I've got nothing else to do. Literally, the first kind of week and a half of lockdown, there was nothing because everybody had just gone blind panic. No, can't talk to you, can't, we don't know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So I had time. So I thought, well, it's a 4-week course. I wonder how quickly I can get it done because I've got nothing else to do. So if I sit here for 8 hours a day for 3 days or 4 days or however long it takes to do the course, great. Because it's then done and I'm being productive. I'm being proactive. I'm starting to try and get some activity going.
You actually went through the course quite quickly though, didn't you? Because as you said, you had a bit of time. Officially, it's a 6-week course, but that's okay. But you went through it, if I remember correctly. You tell me if I'm right. I think you went through a lot of it within like 5 days. Would that be about right?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah. As I literally had nothing to do because everybody I was talking to, I was ringing people and they're going, yeah, come and see when we're out of lockdown. Come and see when we're out of lockdown because nobody was embracing in that first week or two. Nobody was embracing Zoom or Teams or WhatsApp video calls, etc.
And how did you find the process of going through the course? Then obviously, you got stuck in and so on. How did you find that?
I thought it was great because it's recorded and you can watch it at your own pace. There was quite a lot of times I'd actually stop it halfway through part of the presentation and go back and listen to the first part again.
Mm-hmm.
Because I made one of my things. I make notes constantly.
Mm-hmm.
One of the legacies of the injury I had is my memory is not great in terms of remembering technical things.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of remembering processes, I'm easier if I write it down because I can always then go back to it. Go, okay, well, you've got to do this bit. So I didn't write out everything you said, but I would say most of what you said. And certainly the systems, because computer systems just spin my brain.
Mm.
But going through it and then going back and being able to listen to it again. And sometimes on the first time round, just for me, sometimes on the first time round was a bit like, what? And then go back and listen again. Oh, right, press that. Because I'd missed a link in the chain.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, then it doesn't work. But no, the process was great. And as I say, because you can do it at your own leisure, you don't have to just do one bit this week and one bit next week and one bit the week after. And equally, for me, as you say, I think it was 4 or 5 days it took me to get through it. But I think had I been doing it under normal circumstances, not in lockdown, it would have taken longer because I wouldn't have had as much time to sit down and do it all in one go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it would have then become 4 or 5 weeks of doing a block this week and a block next week and a block the week after. But because I had the time, it just made sense to crack on and get on with it.
So how quickly did you get your campaign up and running? I think it was about a week or so, was it?
3 days. I think we got the first bit. You got me connected onto the pretty swiftly, and we were ready to go with the all the conversation pieces on the way through it. So I think the campaign launched on day 3, and then it got tweaked on the other 2 days of the remainder of the course, where we then go into more detail and go, actually, that needs to change a little bit. And there's even things now. I'm looking at the campaign, and it's still running, and it's still expanding, and I'm looking at it now and going, actually, I'm going to tweak the wording on that bit.
Mm-hmm.
I seem to get a better response if I tweak the wording on this bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a moving beast, but it's
Well, it is, and the whole point is to iterate and improve and so on, particularly when you get feedback from the market, because people are going to tell you what they like or what they don't like and so on. Yeah. So the more you can iterate and improve it, the better it's going to work. So how did things go? I mean, obviously you got the campaign up and running. How did it go?
Good. Connections, I think, we're sat just over 700 now, which when I started, I was on a base of about 230. So
Mm-hmm.
I've got a lot of connections now, which is great.
What period's that? That's about 2 months or so, is it?
About 2 months in the around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good, and as you explained when I questioned it, it didn't seem to be going, sort of exponentially going large as quickly as I thought. But then, as you said, because I've not got that many connections, there's only so many people I can connect to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going well. Numbers are up, connections are up. We're getting lots and lots of people actually now coming back and going, oh, you sent me a thing a while ago, didn't get in touch with you, really sorry, but could you point me in the right direction of this, or do you know someone that does that? So being helpful, which is what I like to do, because I know the campaign obviously is all about getting business, I get that, and I'm not shying away from that, but it's also about helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
So the middle part of the campaign, where we sent an article out. I've changed the article because the first article I wrote was about COVID and how to survive it in terms of business. I've now changed it to a business model article. So is your business ready for the new world when we come out the other side of COVID? And that's getting, again, a different response to the first one, because people are now going, you know what, yeah, COVID's old news. We know what that is. Right, okay, actually you're right. I do need to sit down and take some time and remodel things. So I'm now getting people querying about that as well. And then saying, from a financial planning point of view, well, where do you come in? And so it's starting to gel those connections together.
I remember you telling me a story about a guy who was a bit cranky with you, I think, wasn't he? He came back and sort of pushed back a little bit. Do you want to tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, there was one guy in particular who shall remain nameless because I'll explain why in a second. He got one of the automated messages and said something along the lines of, I don't want AI conversations. I'm very busy, leave me alone, or words to that effect, really quite shirty. And ever since I started the campaign, I've tried to do it on a personal basis. So if I get someone message back who goes, no thanks, or not interested, or because they just assume marginally, rightly, it's a marketing thing, I actually try and jump on pretty quick and then send them a personal message just saying, thank you for responding. If I can be of any help, let me know. And this particular guy, as I say, was really, really cranky. So I sent him a message back and said, look, really sorry to bother you. Just figured that, you do this, I do that. There's a synergy between what we do. We really ought to, maybe have a conversation at some point. And he emailed back or messaged back immediately and said he was very sorry, had a really bad day, really struggling, business was tough, etc. I reached out and said, look, do you want to have a conversation? Because I'm a really good listener. I'm an entrepreneur as well. So I've been there, done it, got the T-shirt. I've been through bad times and good times. We can have a conversation. And he said, yes, we had a conversation. He's now a client. So even Brilliant. The grumpy ones can get converted. So
kill them with kindness. Is that the lesson, essentially?
Yeah, I think it is, because we all get it on LinkedIn and other platforms. We're forever being bombarded with people who want to try and sell us something. And I think the way that your campaign teaches people to structure things is not about bombarding people with stuff. It's about dripping it slowly and constructively across and giving them something that actually makes them think, and they are actually, I want to think about that, I want to look at that. And I do think, especially in the midst of COVID, there's lots of people who are really, really struggling who need that little bit of, arm around the shoulder saying, look, it's all right, we're all in the same boat, because as you know, running your own business is really quite isolating sometimes. You are what you make. You are the business you create. And if suddenly everything's looking very black around you, who the hell do you talk to? Because you are the business.
Yeah.
And I've spoken to an awful lot of people on the 15-minute discovery calls in your program, where the 15-minute discovery calls have almost turned into 15 minutes of therapy. I've had people literally go, I don't know what to do, it's all gone. What do I do with this? What do I do with that? And sometimes, I'm a financial planner, but I've had and got investments in other businesses, so I understand how other business works. And I'm then saying to these people, well, look, have you thought about it from this perspective? Why don't you think about doing this way? And they go, oh, yeah, that's really quite a good idea. And I get nothing from that other than a bit of, self-satisfaction. I managed to help a human being. But you're right, the killing and kindness, I think, is really important, because it's really good to say to somebody, look, I'm not just here to try and sell you. Ultimately, yes, I'd love you to become a client, but that might take 3 months, 6 months before that happens. It's not a quick win. With the most, 90% of the people, it's not a quick win. The clients I've picked up so far just happen to be in exactly the right point and frame of mind at the point at which we've made contact, and then said to them, look, obviously, you need to think about this, and they're going, yeah, actually, I've got time now. Lockdown has given people lots of time. I've picked clients up from that. I've got other people from the program who have now turned around and gone, well, when we get out of lockdown and we see a degree of normality, really want to have a conversation with you. But at the minute, we just don't, where I live, tourism is massive. So a lot of people I deal with down here are tourism related. So a lot of people are connected in with end up being tourism related. They've all gone, look, I haven't got a clue what's going on at the moment. I need to plan you quite right, but I can't plan at the minute because it's so unknown. So we've got connected. I've literally got a board over here with about 20 people on it that are from LinkedIn that have said, as soon as we get back to a degree of normality, please get in touch, because we really, value a conversation.
Excellent. And do you know how the campaign's performed overall? I know you've done quite a few calls, and you started converting some clients. I know you have your list there of ones for the future. Do you know how many conversions you've had so far?
Off the top of my head, we're converting. I think we're hitting, because I think in your numbers you were aiming sort of 33% would respond to the initial thing, and then you get to, I think you said 2 or 3% when going to the 15-minute discovery call. I think we're actually marginally ahead of that. We're hitting about 5% of people we're talking to will immediately go for the 15-minute discovery call.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had, without checking my list, we must have had 40 or 45 discovery calls in the last 2 months.
Okay.
It's gone mental in a really good way.
Your calendar's filling up, yeah?
Yeah, it's crazy because, again, normally, because of where I live, travelling time's got to be factored into everything. Geography isn't great down here, so it takes a long way to get to everywhere. Normally, I try and schedule about 6 to 8 meetings a week.
Mm-hmm.
And the most we've done so far during lockdown was about 3 weeks ago. We had 21 meetings in a week.
And
I think 16 of those came from LinkedIn.
Wow. Brilliant.
So it's productive.
And in terms of conversion, I know you're still working through things with some clients, and I know you and so on. Do you know what sort of conversions are coming on the back of that at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, we've hit so far during lockdown. We picked up 4 new clients directly from the LinkedIn campaign.
Yeah.
And total revenue from those 4 clients, I think, is probably pushing about 17 grand.
Okay, and that's year 1 revenue, is it?
Yeah.
And do you know what kind of assets that would be, into your assets under management?
I'm trying to think. It's just tricky because some of it was quite heavy on protection side as well.
Mm-hmm.
But we must have added, a good sort of 200,000-300,000 funds under management immediately. And I say from the list on the board, there's people who've said, look, I've got money, but I don't want to do anything with it yet because we don't know what's going to happen out the other side of this, and how much I'm going to need to put into the business to keep it going, and whether I do or don't. And so it's a bit of a quandary, but I'm expecting that there's going to be very, very good things coming out the back of it.
Excellent. And are you happy with how the campaign's performed, and what it's been able to do for your business?
Yeah. It does say it was completely eye-opening that all these things existed. I mean, even Sales Navigator on LinkedIn, I didn't have a clue what that was.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm trying to do at the moment is every week is set aside an hour, sit down, and then re-extend the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the original campaign. I've now got the second tier campaign. I've now got the third tier campaign, and so on. And the numbers then obviously get bigger and bigger and bigger as you're going along. So it's really starting to gain traction. And it's then also prompted me to write more articles to put out on LinkedIn to share. I've gone onto LinkedIn and found different groups that, again, I didn't even know existed on LinkedIn. I see these people in these things and think, what's that? And you look at it, it's a group. There's entrepreneurial groups I've joined now, and I'm sharing articles in there and getting some traction from that. So as an overall eye-opener, it's been phenomenal for me to see that there is a different world to the one that I used to frequent. But equally, you look at it and think, well, it's opened the doors to more things on LinkedIn, and it's raising my profile and the business's profile at the same time. So it's kind of a win-win, because there's more people I'm talking to now go, oh yeah, I know Slickstone. I've seen that somewhere. And it'll be they've read one of my articles, or they've seen me being interviewed by somebody, or they've had a message from me through LinkedIn, or they've seen it, and it's starting to really gain traction, that people start to realise who I am and what my business is about.
I always say one of the most important things of these campaigns is momentum, and momentum not just in terms of calls and clients and leads, but momentum in terms of, as you say, visibility, and people being able to see you, and people knowing who you are, and getting the name out there. And of course, not everybody's going to convert to client in the first 2 or 3 weeks of speaking to you, but as you say, over the following 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, obviously you get all your back end conversions coming through as well, which is nice.
You're saying, I just remember that there was a guy I connected with down in South Wales, and just randomly got a phone call from this guy. And hello, you just connected me on LinkedIn. I was thinking, waiting for the rah, 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 rah. You did immediately sort of think, ooh, hang on, this is a bit weird. And he said, he said, whenever anybody connects me, so I like to ring them. He said, because I like to actually know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh, great, okay, that's a really good way of doing it. And we had a lovely chat, and a really, really nice guy. So he'd done my discovery call for me, so I didn't actually have to get to that point. It was literally what do you do? Let's have a chat. And we had a lovely conversation, and he's coming to retirement, and he's got this and that, and he's got lots of planning that he needs to do. And in the end of our very brief sort of 7-minute conversation, he said, okay, give me a ring and we'll do a plan because I need to work out to retire. And I mean, that is going to be in the next 6 to 12, maybe even 18 months. But potentially that could be, crikey, that could be 20, 25 grand.
From one conversation, from one person that you connected with, who called you.
That's it. And that was the thing that was really kind of like, I got off the phone pinching myself thinking, did that really just happen? This guy's just basically said, I want to do all this stuff and I want to retire and I want you to plan it, which was a bit mad because he just said it just completely fortuitous timing. You sent me a connection at the exact point I'm thinking, I'm going to retire. How do I get out of it? I've read one of your articles about exit planning from businesses. You sound like, you know what you're doing. Let's have a conversation. Yeah. There's no guarantees in all things, but it's worth it. It's that one thing. Brilliant.
A lot of those things, I think, come from getting your positioning as a business owner right and being clear about what you stand for and what you can do for people. A lot of advisors obviously are quite vague. They're quite sort of generalist. They're not sort of specialist. Whereas, as you said, he read your article about exiting your business and that resonated with him. And when your articles and content resonate with people, conversions become the obvious result of that, which is nice. If you were talking to someone who was on the fence, maybe thinking about doing the course and so on, what would you say to them?
Do it. Just do it. Seriously, and take the leap of faith and give it a go. The things that the course gives you that you didn't have before, you won't even know that you haven't got, if that makes any sense at all.
You don't know what you don't know. Is that what you mean?
Say again, sorry.
You don't know what you don't know.
No, exactly. And honestly, I'd say it was eye-opening as much as, oh my God, there's so much stuff that I should be doing that I wasn't doing. But even down to trying to sort of hone my, what am I actually doing? Who am I talking to? Who am I looking to talk to? And, I've now got it down off pat. I help entrepreneurs and directors across Wales to secure their financial planning with simple financial planning techniques. That's my elevator pitch, for want of a better phrase.
Mm-hmm.
That came out of your course. That came out of me sitting down on the back of what you said in the video about how I need to, in a very simple way, in a one-liner, what do I do? And proof is in the pudding. I was on a call with a motivational speaker last week who's based out in America. He deals with Branson and Mike Tyson and God knows what else. And he's going around the room, but he's going around the Zoom call saying, what do you do? I'm picking fault with everybody else's, I look after, and very long-winded and lots of them in an hour and so on. Came to me and I said mine, and he went, that's pretty succinct. Right, next one, and just moved on because there was nothing he could say because it nails what I do, but that came out of the course. So I think if you're on the fence, it's an investment. Yes, there's financial outlay, but you do it, you do the course, you come out the other side, you're going to make money. You run the course the way that you set the course out, you follow the path, and the path works. So there's
proof is in the pudding and all that. Proof.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, listen, thanks very much for jumping on today, Mark. I really appreciate it, and for talking so openly about where you're at, and best of luck with the future growth of the business. It sounds like the future is looking pretty bright.
Yeah, it is. It is. Not today. It's a bit overcast, but it's generally looking bright.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it.